Nobody argues that Valve has always made cool games and stories, but the approach to this, the attitude towards the community, and the greed eventually ruined Valve. The company's image has gradually deteriorated over the past 15 years. In the 2000s, Valve was a highly respected company that they wanted to get into. In our time, Valve's policy does not inspire confidence, and the whole society treats the company quite negatively. There are 5 reasons why Valve is the worst gaming company in the world. Let's go. Compendium 2023. Compendium 2023 indeed sparked a flurry of dissatisfaction and negative comments towards Valve.
I skimmed over it a little bit. It looks like shit, doesn't it?
However, it was worth keeping one simple truth in mind. Valve's ideas and your expectations will never align in reality. The Compendium 2023 is aimed exclusively at those well-versed in the professional esports scene. Let's be honest, not even half of the player base are Dota esports fans. For the absolute majority of players, the new Compendium holds no value. They don't need team and esports player cards. They don't want to play heroes that were once in a specific team's draft.
Guys, every hero in these games have been nerfed. If they won, that means that they're nerfed, which means that they're bad. This is like Giga Cap. This is play with heroes that we have shit on throughout the year. What the f is this? This is a nightmare.
Even the collectible Aegis or a new interface style won't entice them to make a purchase.
75? For a HUD? What the hell?
The new Catacombs, bingo for additional, standard fantasy leagues, and predictions have no valuable awards. And the most crucial question, where are the immortal items and sets, personas, arcanas?
I mean, overall take is like, why don't they just hire artists? Like, what is gonna like rob them of their gameplay experience if they just hired a few people? It's not like they don't have money, and they would make money doing it. So it just seems like a weird, bad business decision, right? Like, why would they not hire people? I don't get it. To make like a few arcanas, a few cosmetics, and people would be happy, right? Not even that much people are asking for, just a few.
Yes, thanks to the old compendiums and battle passes, the International's prize pool reached tens of millions of dollars through crowdfunding. 25% of each battle pass or compendium sale contributes to the International's prize pool. However, when your compendium is so lackluster, it's not surprising that the International 2023's prize pool didn't reach $3 million by its start.
This graph will never reach 5, the way it looks right now, that's all I gotta say.
Setting aside emotions, Valve's decision can be understood. The company acknowledged the criticism of an inflated prize pool for the International. The World Championship could have had a $40 million prize pool, while all other tournaments throughout the year had a prize pool 10 times smaller, and artificially brought it down to reasonable limits. $5 to $10 million is still a huge amount. The concern lies in the major events of Dota 2. Events like Frostivus are a thing of the past, and now Valve has also abandoned the Battle Pass. Such moments revitalized the Dota 2 community, re-engaged dormant players, and looked quite interesting. Apparently, according to the developer's perspective, the game no longer needs these elements. Dota 2 will occasionally receive significant balance patches like the spring New Horizons, cosmetic events with arcanas and treasure troves, and tournament operators will handle esports, except perhaps for TI. Valve tolerates Russians. Before the International 2022, unexpectedly for everyone, Valve created the official page of the International in VK, a social media site that is under sanctions. As we know, all staff, including commentators, analysts, and operators, have special invitations. The focus was on the Russian language list of talents. Among the 45 specialists, Valve invited only 7 Ukrainians, and almost the entire staff consisted of Russian casters. In 2023, Valve decided not to strip up troubles for themselves. That's why they invited only 2 Ukrainian casters, who declined Valve's proposal. If you think Valve only tolerates Russians in Dota 2, you're mistaken. Remember, for instance, the unique qualification for teams from Siberia at PGL Antwerp 2022. Valve cares so much about Siberian Russians that just after 2 weeks after the start of the full-scale Russian invasion, they organized a qualifier for them, ensuring they could play with a comfortable ping. So why does Valve Valve love Russians? The answer is quite simple. Around 20% of the revenue in Dota 2 and CSGO comes from Russians. Even now, despite the sanctions making it much harder to donate via Steam, they find ways to contribute to Compendium and become the #1 nation in the world in terms of the number of people buying this compendium. CS2 release. When Valve released CS2 in closed beta in March 2023, we expected that the company would polish it to perfection by the release date, which was delayed by a month. However, the game encountered a slew of problems. One of the unique selling propositions of CSGO has always been its accessibility. The game could run and work excellently, even on very outdated hardware, allowing anyone interested to immerse themselves in the team battle atmosphere of the legendary FPS shooter. Counter-Strike 2 is more demanding, at least due to its novelty. After all, the game was released this year, whereas its predecessor came out in 2012. And it's not just about the game looking more refined and modern, but even on expensive setups there are completely inexplicable lags and frame rate drops. It's worth noting that Valve regularly releases patches with optimizations. Bloggers have also been useful in this by identifying several overpowered graphics setups. One of the major novelties was supposed to be the sub-tick, which was meant to be an improved version of 64-tick and make 128-tick obsolete. It did indeed make 128-tick obsolete, as Valve simply prohibited the creation of servers with a tick rate other than 64. After this change, games on Faceit looked very strange. The sub-tick itself was terrible. There are numerous videos on the internet demonstrating the sub-tick's experience, where shots don't register, knives don't kill from behind, or you die behind walls. Bugs. There are a multitude of them in this game, ranging from visual issues, where foreign textures appear on the map, to gameplay-related problems, such as broken hitboxes or the infamous Michael Jackson peak. Yes, the developers fixed them quite promptly, but the fact that critical bugs affecting gameplay and balance appear practically every update is disheartening. And what about cheaters? Valve promised to improve the anti-cheat, but playing CS2 has become unbearable. In 1 out of 10 games, you will most likely encounter a cheater, perhaps even more frequently. It has reached a point where cheaters infiltrated the leaderboard during the final beta test. Half-Life 3. The history of Valve's decline began 14 years ago, in 2008. It all started with the fact that Valve abandoned Half-Life Episode 3, which was supposed to be released back in 2007. Instead of continuing the legendary series, the team focused on other projects, Left 4 Dead and Portal 2, which in the end could not surpass Half-Life. Although the fans were eagerly waiting for the next part, which was supposed to be the end of the story of Gordon Freeman, they got some kind of cheap zombie shooter without a special plot. This is not what people really expected, and of course, many players were disappointed because of this. At the same time, Gabe Newell continued to lie to people for several more years that the development of Half-Life 3 continues and everything is going according to plan.
So rather than waiting until, Half-Life 3 ships for our multiplayer games to get a feature like HDR.
After Orange Box, we have to get Episode 3 out. We know how the trilogy ends, and there are a bunch of loose ends and narrative arcs that need to come to a conclusion in Episode 3. So that's going to be a big focus for us.
The main thing that we're working on right now after we get the Orange Box out the door is going to be Episode 3, so we can finish off this trilogy and finish the story arcs that the characters are going through.
Thereby trying to maintain a positive image of the company, but nothing came of it. In 2010, almost the entire Half-Life development team was disbanded. In 2020, Valve released Half-Life Alyx, prequel of Half-Life 2, telling us a story about Alex, a companion of Gordon Freeman. Although the game was well received by the audience, the plot didn't fit canon, and the product was released for not the most popular platform, VR. Half-Life Alyx can be called the third part of the legendary series, but only with a stretch. That was not what fans of Valve games expected. And before we continue, we'd like to remind you that you can support our channel financially. You can do this via Patreon or PayPal. All the details can be found in the description below this video. Esports Development. Valve has taken a strong stance against franchise leagues in CSGO, which will no longer exist from 2025 onwards. They also mentioned that tournament participants will now be determined based on their rankings. Here is a comparison with HLTV and ESL rankings. However, the global reform by Valve has raised several concerns. ESL and Blast are not franchise leagues on 100%. If a team doesn't have a slot, they need to compete in qualifiers. So it's not as straightforward, especially with Blast's hardcore system. Franchise leagues are unlikely to be the main enemy of the pro scene. ESL, for example, has created an excellent system with divisions, challengers, and pro leagues, where a variety of teams compete twice a year. On the Tier 2-3 CS scene, there are more important and sensitive issues. Cheating, such as radar hacks and other types of cheats, is a major concern. Some are not hesitant to use them even in qualifiers for majors. Additionally, numerous scam tournaments are being held that don't operate on sporting principles. However, Valve has never shown much interest in these issues. Perhaps they are unaware of their existence. In Dota 2, the company acknowledged the non-viability of the DPC system and canceled it, retaining the right to host the International. This means Dota 2 is following a path similar to the recent years of CSGO, with Valve organizing major tournaments with big incomes, while ESL conducts its top-tier franchise tournaments featuring the same set of teams. Meanwhile, Tier 3 teams will compete in smaller tournaments for minimal rewards. That's all for today. What reasons do you agree with? Which ones do you not agree with? Write about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Good game.